the dissolution of your ego, the death of your egoic construct of the human mind, and to go beyond that. Because once you go beyond that, that you're more than just the story of, of me, of Tree, of you, then you realize that there's an infinite consciousness that seems to carry on.
Hey guys, welcome to our SoulFam Podcast, where I interview space holders from all over the world. I am your host. My name is Karolina, and I am the connection catalyst. I help spiritual entrepreneurs experience deeper connection with themselves, with others, and with the universe. Today on the show, we have Tree Carr, the TED speaker, the author, and the Death Doula. Welcome to the show, Tree. How are you doing?
I'm great. Welcome to be here. It's amazing.
You look so nice. You look like a real witch today. And I just really love your style. I already said it, but to anyone who watches it on YouTube, like, check her out, guys. Like, this is the stylish witch here, right here. Amazing. I'm so excited to talk to you because, as I mentioned before we started recording, I have literally never met a person who is a death doula. And even the word doula, I have never heard it before. So I would love to. You to talk a little bit about that and like what does doula mean, and also like what has brought you to this specific work, like maybe some personal experiences or some kind of calling, because this is quite a unique thing that you're doing. So I would really love to hear more about that.
Yeah, I guess we'll start with the word doula because it does throw people off a little bit because it is a word from another language. It's actually a Greek word which means a woman who serves. And so a death doula is a woman who serves around the time of death. So we have birth doulas, so they are women who are or it's not a gender specific role, that are there to help facilitate the birth. And so with the role I do as a death doula, it's helping at the other end of life on the journey towards death and dying. And so the role is a very person-centered role. It's not a medical role. It's not palliative care. It's a role where we hold space for the psychological, emotional, the practical underpinnings of death and dying, and also spiritual too, depending on where the person is at. So it's all about supporting the person and holding a compassionate space for them as they journey towards their death.
Wow, this is quite intense. Like you must have some kind of really higher understanding about death to be able to hold people while they're going through this transition. Because I can imagine that for some people it would be way too much to hold someone when they are passing away and to really hold space for them. So, what does the death doula specifically do?
Yeah, so it's not a role that people are like innately attracted to, right? I mean, most of us want to like sweep away the idea of death and really actually want to like not even think about it because it holds a lot of fear around the reality of it, really. And so this is really a role that I think people feel called to do. And I felt the calling ever since I was a kid. It seemed as though I was always put in a place where I was always around death. And if I look back at the long view of my life, I can see that I was really being sort of prepared for this role since I was a child, and so it really made sense for me to step into the role. um, it probably all started when I was 4 years old, when I had a near death experience. And at the time I didn't even realize it was a near death experience. It's not only when you're older that you look back and you think that was a near death experience. I have all the hallmarks of a near death experience, and yet when you're a very small person, it's hard to process these huge events, right? So when I was a child, I had a near drowning experience, where I was pulled out to the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, in a freak kind of wave. And as that was happening, I had the little life review, and I had the sense of like, I'm going to die, and a real sense of my family and a lot of love and connection to them, and deep empathy for like my whole family, my parents, and deep sadness that they would never find my body because I would be like swept out and that was it. And after the initial grappling and trying to survive being thrown out into the ocean, I did have a wave of peace and calm that came over me, that was an acceptance and a surrender. And so in that moment, I found like complete connectivity to everything, really. And then as that moment was happening and passed, my dad like saved my life, pulled me out of the water and brought me to the beach. And then it hit me, the shock hit me, and it was like, then all the tears and the shaking happened, of the realization of the absolute gravity of the situation. And in that moment, it was really strange because my dad decided to take out his camera and take a photo of me after putting on my sweater and keeping me warm. And I always wondered why he did that. And the photo was always in the family album, and it always slightly like unnerved me. And when I was a teenager, I asked him, I said, "Why, Dad, why did you take a photo of me, after that really intense, almost dying situation?" And he said, "Oh, well, he really wanted to document the fact that I was still around and alive. But he also said, your eyes looked really different, and I wanted to capture your eyes." And it's true. If you look at the photo, my eyes are really like, they're really deep and dark. It's like they saw death. There's something about the eyes that just pull you into like the depth of them, and there's an intensity there. So my dad could see it, and then I think from that point onward, I always felt like I had looked into the face of death, and always had one foot in that realm. And as my life moved forward, I had like a series of synchronicities that always put me in the path of death. I was always there at the right place at the right time. It's a very long story, but through all my life, it accumulated to a point where, the decision was made to become a death doula, which was just a series of amazing synchronicities that led me to this path. So I really do think that people can be called to this sort of work. And the universe, so to speak, was preparing me for the role. And it wasn't until, I had a slap in the face where it was like, wake up, this is what you're meant to be doing. When I decided to actually look into what is this role, of holding space for others, around the times of death. So that's kind of how I got
Wow.
here.
Wow, this is freaking amazing. I love this story. Oh my God, this is really, really cool. So yeah, this is such an amazing story. It is so inspiring actually to know that okay, after death or in the moment of dying, you have this sense of peace, you have this sense of acceptance and connectedness to everything that is. And I feel like this is what maybe people who are dying should know, that it's first of all not the end, that the consciousness is still there, and it's not, maybe it's traumatic in the moment of dying, but then afterwards the peaceful state comes in, right? And I actually have had a bufo experience last year, and I was completely like an infinite space of shapes and colors, and my human experience was completely done, and I was actually super confused and super afraid. I'm like, what is this, like is this my life right now, like what am I doing here, like what is happening? But I didn't have any reference point to my human existence, so it was really hard to grasp, and I had a lot of fear and confusion around that. And my intention for this experience was actually to release the fear of death. And so the medicine of bufo, the beautiful toad, what it got me to do is to actually experience the fear of death, right? I was just so, I was even crying before I smoked it. I was so scared of even doing this experience. I've never had any fear to this degree before any psychedelic medicine. But before this one, I was so scared, even like the day before, and I was like crying during the night and crying in the morning, crying before I smoked it because I was so scared. And I really like felt this fear of death, because after I came back from this space, I was like, if this is death, then it's freaking scary, you know? And I just kind of like released it all. But then I realized, actually, like I'm still alive. There was a consciousness outside of my human experience and human body. And if I've experienced it, like if I would experience it one more time, I probably wouldn't be as scared anymore, because I would be like, yeah, okay, now I'm just infinity. Like now I'm just an infinite space of shapes and colors, all good, all fine, you know, because I've already been there. And so it was an interesting topic for me, this topic of death and fear of death specifically, because I feel like it's so ingrained in our culture and religion specifically, or all these beliefs that there's something wrong about it, or that there's, I don't know, that it's scary scary, that you never know if you're not gonna go to hell or whatever there is, as a belief. And so I found myself being extremely scared, but now I feel like I've integrated this experience more and more, and I started reading these books. For example, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Dolores Cannon, the hypnotherapist, who was doing regression and going with people before they came to earth, and even in their past lives and so on. And she wrote this book, I think, I don't know, I remember the title, but like Life Between Death or something like that, where she would write about experiences that people, or rather souls, were talking about in between lives, right? And it was a beautiful space, really. Like, all these people were really explaining, like, oh, it's so peaceful, it's so good, and they were explaining different things. And yeah, after Bufo, I was like, okay, I need to integrate, and for my mind, for my logical mind, to not be so scared of death, I need to maybe get some like logical kind of explanation, or some, like some people talking about this, because I was just like so blown away by this experience. But now, fast forward, half a year or so, or maybe even more after this experience, I'm like, actually, it's like not that bad, and I'm not scared that much anymore. And it only proved me that there is consciousness beyond the human life. So it's actually great, because I have a proof that we are infinite in a way. And I've experienced it on myself, but it is a really hardcore experience for me, I would say. And so I'm really curious, like, how do you prepare people who are about to die for what they are just about to experience? Because it's such a, I don't know, it could be so intense for some people to experience death. And how do you prepare them? Like, what do you do? Or do you tell them about your experience? Or do you have specific methods to, I don't know, bring them more peace? Or how does it work?
Yeah, well, first I want to congratulate you for your self-initiated death rite passage with 5-MeO-DMT. And dimethyltryptamine is an incredible compound that does do the boundary dissolving oneness thing that I feel like it's like the death, the death molecule that really actually helps to activate a neo-death, which can help prepare a person for their biological death. So well done for you for taking that heroic journey
Thank you.
towards understanding that transition. In fact, that is, a big rite of passage in a lot of various practices all throughout the world, and a lot of spiritual paths, is to experience the death of ego first. And, we could draw upon so many countless examples from the Buddhist path to the Eleusinian mystery cults of ancient Greece, where to die before you die is necessary before you die. So taking upon that motto, if you die before you die, then you will not die when you die. It's the concept of the dissolution of your ego, the death of your egoic construct of the human mind, and to go beyond that. Because once you go beyond that you're more than just the story of, of me, of Tree, of you, then you realize that there's an infinite consciousness that seems to carry on after that dissolve. And so there's so many ways you can get there. So the psychedelic experience is one way to get there. The near death experience, like for me, was an initiation. But there's also other methods in which you can get there. Obviously, there's the method of meditation. Being able to see the non-duality of all things is really helpful. To practice non-attachment, to see the impermanence of all things, to reconnect to nature, to see that there is the cycles within nature of the life, the death, and then the rebirth cycle constantly, all around us at all times. So simply just going and sitting somewhere in nature and just watching things unfold, you'll see that cycle. But the thing is, here in the West, we've lost that connection. We're very disconnected from the life, death, and rebirth cycle. We're disconnected from nature. So therefore, we're disconnected from our infinite source of ourselves. We're disconnected from our own consciousness. We're very much in the chattering mind. And so when we come back to the presence of the stillness of the quiet moment, if we're able to move beyond the ego construct and seeing through that vantage point, this is a really great way of preparing yourself for death, because you see that there's a boundary dissolving oneness behind it, and there's much peace and comfort behind that. Now, as a death doula, the most struggle I see with people approaching the inevitability of their own death is not so much the biological process. I mean, it's very painful sometimes as our bodies are shutting down and dying, but there's plenty of pain control for that now. We have amazing medical system where you can stay comfortable up to the point of your last breath. But it's not so much the biological process, but it's the psychological and emotional process. So, which I see with a lot of people I've guided towards the journey of death is the lament and the grief of their own ego of who am I? What was I? What did this all mean? I don't understand what's happening. How can I not exist anymore? And this is the territory that I find people are struggling with the most. And so there's so many ways in which you you can help a person lean into that through conversations, through looking at things through a different lens, through practicing non-attachment, for seeing the impermanence of all things, that can help prepare a person for death. But certainly the psychedelic experience can definitely prepare you for death, because as you experience that, coming out the other side of that really can take away the fear of death, the distress of the emotional territory.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. And for me, I feel like it took away some of it, maybe not all of it, but I feel like the next time I do it, it will maybe dissolve completely. And also, I had a session with my friend who is a clairvoyant. He said that I didn't fully understand this experience, but the next time I do it, I will understand. But I don't know when the next time will happen, because honestly, I think it happened maybe in like April, and now we have March, and I don't know if I'm ready to step into any kind of experience like that yet. But I can just integrate maybe a little more, and then I haven't tried like things like ayahuasca, for example. I've tried only other things, but I'm kind of preparing mentally to do ayahuasca, and then maybe understanding more, and maybe be able to die even deeper,
Oh,
as we can
yes.
say. But
Ayahuasca is such a huge teacher when it comes to death. It is called the rope of death, the vine of death. And even though I'm a trained death doula, did the studies and the certification, my biggest teacher about and around death has been ayahuasca. Without a doubt, really shows you she really is quite a phenomenal teacher around all things death and dying. And my current studies, I'm a recent graduate at the Olive Trust in the program for psychedelics, altered states, and transpersonal psychology. And my thesis was around ayahuasca and ayahuasca case studies, and how ayahuasca can prepare a person for their own biological death because of the experience of the ego dissolution that happens within the ayahuasca journey. And what's happening neurologically in these exceptional experiences of consciousness, in the psychedelic experiences, is that neurologically our default mode network of the brain is shut down. And this is the network that's connected to all of our chatter, our thinking, and the egoic mind. And so what happens is that it's like, it's shut down, and then we're able to access another vantage point neurologically. And when that happens, people get very big breakthroughs. And so studies show that, and in my studies it showed that, my case studies, that people feel more comfortable and more accepting of their own death after ayahuasca experiences, feel less afraid, and feel more like, well, if death is like that, then I can just step into that. If death is like this ayahuasca experience that I had, I can just lean into that and step into that, and it's not so scary. So it's actually
Mhm.
quite connected.
That's beautiful. Yes, and that's exactly why I want to do this, because I can feel like there might be still some fear left in my body, but yeah, I feel like I'm a step further in releasing it. But yeah, Mama Aya hasn't called me yet, but I am certainly gonna do it one day because I'm just too curious not to do this. I think. But I want to ask you because like I have one friend that is quite close to me, and he has had also a near-death experience, and when he was like 10 years old. And what I can really feel from him is that he is like really open on the higher chakras, or at least at the time we were, taking some psychedelics together and having like deep spiritual talks. He seemed like being like really open up there, because it seemed to me like he already has been in these higher realms as a kid, and so then the openness remained in a way. Or my auntie also has had a near death experience, and sometimes she gets just like random visions from other realms. And so, did you also experience something like that throughout your life? Like, did this experience open you up to these other realms of reality?
Yeah, and it's very interesting how that is, and how people who have had a near-death experience seem to have one foot in the realm, or have a more of an openness around these liminal spaces or liminal states. And certainly, I had these experiences as I grew up. I experienced exceptional experiences in the dream realms. Lucid dreaming and out of body states, and also precognitive dreaming, which seemed to be something that really was has been a thread that's followed me through my life, as well as precognition, being able to see things before they unfold at a later date, having deeper intuition, just really knowing information about people, uh, seemingly out of nowhere, which is, I guess, a form of clairvoyancy, and also mediumship. So being able to communicate with those who've died, um, very easily, that the coming through and giving information, giving their names. And so that has been part of the experience moving forward through a thread through all my life as well. Now, so that was a near death experience, but then in a psychedelic experience, so my work with ayahuasca, it also opens up even more. So, for example, after an ayahuasca journey, the precognition and the clairvoyancy and the lucid dreaming is really off the charts, in the months after a ayahuasca journey. Now, that's something to it's very understudied, and maybe something that someone could pick up the ball on really looking at the data behind that. But from my own personal experiences and from talking to others, it seems like it's a lot more heightened uh, after an experience with a psychedelic. And I think it has a lot to do with neurologically with the the filtering and the shutting down of the default mode network at that time, and being able to have this different vantage point, or that your consciousness is able to access, um, you know, somewhere beyond the brain, or it's opening it up in a way where you're able to experience these experiences.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. So you are a perfect fit for a death doula, it seems, based on all your experiences and ayahuasca and near death experience and everything. You're just like quite chill about death, I guess. You seem like it. you know? It's you're ready, like there is nothing wrong about it, because I also feel like it's a transition, right? We're infinite souls, infinite beings, and we came here just for a little bit, really, to just experience this life, and to enjoy this life, and to see how it feels to be this specific person. But really, we are all. So yeah, this is really really cool to talk about. So you said that you had some precognitive dreams and lucid dreaming. So do you feel like everyone can lucid dream and everyone can have these kind of dreams, or do you feel like some people might have more open potential, or is this a potential that everyone can open up for themselves?
So I think with all things, we all hold potential for anything that we put our intention and our mind, our consistency, our practice towards, and our effort towards. I think we can achieve anything. Some of us might have a predisposition for these things initially when we're born and when we're moving through life, but I certainly think it's something that you can work towards. For myself, it feels like it might have been that predisposition was there, and then it's strengthened and evolved as we move forward. But certainly you can cultivate a lucid dreaming practice. I teach courses on lucid dreaming, and I've had great results with my students where they've had their first lucid dream ever. So, anyone could put their focus on this and make it happen. When it comes to precognition, some people seem to be more prone to that than others, but certainly I think it's something that you can also work on, because we're sensory beings. We probably don't use as many senses as that we have. We're stuck in the chatter mind. We're stuck in the busyness of the beta brainwave, and many of us don't slow it down to the present moment to be able to feel into or sense these other things. But I do think we all have the potential to do that just through leaning into it, into various practices around precognition, around clairvoyancy. And yeah, I just do believe that. I don't think um, I'm particularly special in any kind of way. Anyone can do that, and I don't really see it as um, I don't really see it as a superpower or some sort of savant thing either. Not at all. I see it as a natural, innate human thing that we all have the potential for in order to help each other. So it's like it's there to help serve others and be there and to help our community. So it's really natural. I don't see it as supernatural. I see it as
Mm-hmm.
like natural.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I feel you, although I feel like I have this lens that everything is supernatural. So,
Yeah.
we are supernatural as we are because we can literally make magic happen. So, I feel like everyone is a superhero in a way, either awakened or not awakened, but everyone is. Um, but yeah, this is really interesting. So, for the people who don't really maybe have any experiences of lucid dreaming, or they maybe don't know much about it, how can lucid dreaming serve you? Like, what benefits does it bring?
Yeah, so a lucid dream is a type of dream where you become fully conscious and aware and present within the dream itself, as present as we are right now, listening and watching this video. So, in order to become conscious and present and aware in the dream, uh, there are various practices that you would need to engage in your waking time in order to bring about the potential. And now something happens when you go present and completely aware in a dream. It it really shifts a person. Usually a person wakes up from the experience absolutely questioning the nature of reality itself, which I think is a good thing. It's good to question the nature of reality every day. And it could be very changing and very transformative, very transfer personal for a person. And I think with a lucid dreaming, that being able to do that, there's great potential. Some of the potential is to transcend trauma, transcend post-traumatic stress. Also, just to explore your consciousness, to evolve your consciousness, to learn. Many lucid dreams, I learn. I go lucid in a dream and I ask the dream to show me something, teach me something, or take me somewhere, and it will. Or I'll talk to dream characters and I'll ask them to please show me, tell me something, teach me something. So most lucid dreamers just love to fly around or, have adventures, but there's more you can do. You can really evolve your consciousness within this state. And in fact, I think that as we evolve as human beings, you know, maybe 300 years from now, 500 years from now, perhaps we will be lucid dreaming every night if we keep on the right path of connectivity. We'll see.
That would be amazing. I would freaking love it. It's like we're meeting here in the waking life on Earth, but then in the dream we can see anyone from anywhere, really, from Earth or other dimensions, our spirit guides or angels, whoever is there. That would be freaking cool. And I have a question. So, do you see it as our soul is leaving our body as we sleep, and our body is just like resting, and our soul is just going and traveling? And if so, then what's the difference between astral projection and going out of your body and the lucid dreaming?
That's a really good question. And, I love to sit with the science of this. Like, how does it work? What are dreams? Dreams are experiences of consciousness. They are experiences of consciousness in an altered state of sleep. So just because we're sleeping, it doesn't mean that we're not experiencing something. And in fact, we can wake up from a dream that feels so powerful and profound. We feel like it changed our life. And just because it was a dream, it doesn't make it that invalid. It's valid. You had this experience. So how do dreams work? We know that they are projections of our unconscious realms, but then some just feel a lot more, otherworldly than that. So I love to entertain the idea that, time and space and reality is not what our current construct of science would hold it. So the current construct of science sees time as more of a linear thing, and I'm much of I love the quantum loop theories and the quantum theories where it's much more complex and much more multi-layered, and that in fact possibly we live in a multiverse, and everything is effectively just happening now, all the time, just now. Ancient Egypt is now happening now. This is happening now. World War II is happening now. So I see dreams as, maybe I love to entertain the idea that maybe we are accessing a layer of the multiverse in various levels. Now, when it comes to lucid dreaming and astral projection or out of body experiences, the jury's still out on that. I mean, we know scientifically that lucid dreams do exist. The science is behind that in the sleep labs experiments that were conducted in the 1970s. Dr. Keith Hearn, psychologist, dream researcher here in the UK, documented the first lucid dream ever in a sleep lab. So we know that there's science. People do become conscious and aware and can be in a sleep state. But when it comes to OBEs and astral projection, the jury's still out as to what is that? Is that just a form of dreaming? Is your consciousness actually disconnected from your corporeal body? And so I love to just entertain that they are two separate experiences, because they do feel very different, because an out of body experience is very different, because you are experiencing a present moment awareness in your room, like actually in your room. So you're from a vantage point that is, from the ceiling or from the other side of the room. And so it is very much in your physical space, but just from a different vantage point. And it has almost a feel to it where everything looks slightly grainy, black and white, like you're on CCTV. So it feels like you are like in the dimension just behind this vivid material reality. It's almost like if you had a website, a really nice Flash website, and then you went behind it and you saw all the code that was just a little bit more dull and it's just code. That's how I see like the astral plane or the astral experience. Of course, I've had many experiences in those realms, and it does feel very, very different than a lucid dream. But of course, it's exciting territory because it's the realm of unknown, and there's not much science to back it up. But that doesn't stop me, because I feel like I'm a consciousness explorer, and I've had exceptional experiences with the out of body experience. Then I'm like, I'm still going to explore it, even if science doesn't back it up. Like, like, this is amazing. And I liken it to, early explorers in Europe who looked across the ocean and they thought, I feel like there's something out there. Let's just go out there and get in a boat and go journey and see. And people were like, you guys are crazy. Why would you go do that? Like, there's nothing. You're going to fall off the end of the earth if you do that. And there was a few explorers who were just like, no, we're going to go do that. And they did it. And they went out and they found a world there. They found land and a whole reality. And then they came back and told people, and they couldn't even fathom it. They're like, there was these types of animals and we saw these types of people. And so I see those realms of consciousness, the out of body experience, as being quite similar. People often, see things in the astral, like entities or beings and orbs. And a lot of people have similar experiences. Oh yeah, I've seen that guy. He keeps coming through too. So I see it as the same way. It's the exploration of consciousness. And I do think it's part of our evolution. It's part of our evolution of growth. And so if you're going to these places, you're probably going there for a reason. You're probably going there to learn. And I've learned a lot in the astral. I've learned how to create portals. I've learned how to stay out as long as I can. You get snap back in. I've learned how to work energy in those realms, in those zones, how to time jump. It gets really interesting, and no one teaches you these sort of things, but you just get taught as you're there. But the lucid dreaming is very different because you're literally in a different terrain. It's not in your room, it's not in your house or on your street. It's it's in a world, sometimes alien worlds, sometimes places that feel like it's another planet, or if it feels like a different time in history. How one lucid dream once, it was so vivid. I was standing on the cliff in the Mediterranean and I was on an encampment of Russian, not Russian, sorry, I'm thinking of the, the war right now, of Roman soldiers, the Roman soldiers in like with fires and in between battle and singing, and it was so vivid. The sun was so hot, I could feel the heat. The the soldiers, the Roman soldiers were walking past me. I could smell their body odor, like the really smelly guys. It was amazing. It was like more crisp and real. It was like I was in a virtual reality experience. And so I just thought when I woke up, like I was there. I felt like I was in the Roman times and really experiencing this experience. So they feel very different. So maybe it's these are the layers of the multiverse that, I'm just throwing that out as a hypothesis.
That's perfect. Thank you so much for that. It's mind blowing everything that you said. And I actually haven't had the out of body experience yet, but lucid dreaming a little bit. Yeah, I was always deciding to fly because it's the coolest thing you can do, and you're like in the dream, like, oh, okay, I'm in the dream. Oh, that means I can fly. Awesome! I'm gonna go and see what's around. That's what I usually did. But yeah, with out of body experiences, I haven't really had, but I really would like to explore it and learn it. And lucid dreaming as well, actually. I would love to explore this topic even more. And so maybe for beginners like me, do you have any starting tip where people maybe could do a little bit of exercise or maybe meditate with something to just start this journey? And I'm sure that there's a lot to it. But just for beginners like me, how do we start if we want to lucid dream?
Yeah, a good starting point for lucid dreaming is simply starting with a dream journal, because as soon as you start recording your dreams, you'll start to improve your dream memory recall. You'll start to trigger more dreams, so you'll remember a lot more dreams from the night and have a lot more. And also, the journal helps to serve as a blueprint as you move forward. Then you start to see the symbols that keep appearing. And then as you start to see the symbols, let's say your symbol is a wolf and you always get wolves in your dreams, you can start to do
I'm a wolf.
reality
You're
checks.
so on point.
I just saw
I'm
wolves
literally
around you, so I just
I'm a she wolf.
and so you can start with dream journaling and then move from there and then look at your symbols, start using your symbols in your waking time, doing reality checks around your symbols. So for example, you're a wolf, so you could start doing reality checks every day around the images of wolves. A good way to start, I always show my students, like everyone's got a phone, so have your screen, your home page as a wolf, and every time you see your phone, do a reality check around the wolf. And that's a reality check is simply asking yourself a series of questions. Am I dreaming? Am I awake? Here's the wolf. I'm really being with the wolf. I'm studying its eyes, its fur, the color, and just pulling all your awareness into the present moment. So as you do that, you prepare yourself more and more to be present with the image of your dream symbol of the wolf. And this will give you more chances of that wolf appearing in a dream, and then your lucidity, your awakeness will come into effect because you've been practicing that technique like many, many, many times during the day around your symbol. And so when the wolf appears and you go lucid, you could say, "Wolf, what do you want to tell me? Wolf, what do you symbolize, or please show me something."
Oh, this is great. I'm certainly choosing a wolf as my sign because, yeah, on one of these experiences on psychedelics, I've experienced just looking in the mirror and literally my face like going like this, like to the front. I could feel my nose just like extending, and I saw the gray fur just coming on like half of my face, and I literally started becoming a wolf, and then it scared me a little bit because it was the first time that I was kind of like shape shifting, quote unquote, right? In the mirror, I was like, what the hell is going on? So then it disappeared, but I literally felt my nose like going as a wolf nose. I'm like, oh my god, I'm tapping to some kind of, as you said, quantum multiverse in which I actually am a wolf, and I feel like I just have so
Oh,
many traits of
amazing.
a wolf as well. But yeah, it was such a interesting experience. So, and then I had a few visions on other experiences of being a wolf. So yeah, I feel like your intuition is so on point that you picked a wolf as a sign. Because I'm a she wolf. I think somewhere even I have on Tumblr or some WhatsApp stuff. I have like she wolf spirit is my nickname. So yeah, it's just pretty funny.
Fantastic.
It's pretty funny, but yeah. I also wanted to ask you, because you said that you had a lot of out of body experiences, and if you would be happy to share, we would love to hear about the most interesting or the most powerful experience out of body that you've had, because yeah, I'm just super curious about these kind of topics and experiences. So yeah, I would love to hear more about that.
Yeah, okay. So I'll share. Oh, there's so many. There's
I know
so
it's hard to
many.
choose.
Oh, oh, there's so many, but I feel led right now to share one that is around death. I think that my intuition's saying that one. So whoever's listening maybe needs to hear this. Who knows? So with this one out of body experience. So I was I was in here in the UK in Hastings doing an event called the Dream Temple with a colleague of mine who is a dream researcher and Egyptologist. Her name is Sarah Janes, brilliant woman. And we were doing a dream temple together. And a dream temple, like the ancient Greeks used to do dream temples, they were places to come to do dream incubation in order to meet the gods in the dreams to heal their physical bodies. So this was something that it was like that was a setup back in these ancient times. Isn't it amazing? Now we have hospitals, but then they had like these dream temples. So anyway, we were reconstructing this because we loved this idea and we wanted people to experience the technique, these ancient techniques. So it was that around that time, just before the pandemic in February 2020, and I was doing the weekend of Dream Temple with her, and I got a phone call uh, to let me know that a person I know, like a friend I know, who died of a heart attack, had just died of a heart attack, so died. His name is Gary. So really shocking death, gone, and that was held, held. I was holding that within me, like, oh my God, like Gary's gone. Wow. And so that night when I heard the news, it was literally a late night phone call. My intentions before I went to sleep were to send like love to him and good luck on your journey and love to you, hope you're doing well. And that night I slept at Sarah's house. So her place is amazing. Her room was all like Egyptian, like Egyptology, symbols everywhere, little gods everywhere. And she set up her bed in the ancient Egyptian manner, which is to be on a slight incline. So the top of the bed, so you're sleeping on an incline. And so the ancient Egyptians would sleep this way so that their pineal eye was closer to the heavens, to cosmic consciousness, so instead of laying flat, so that they were elevated a bit so that there was a better connection. So I was like, oh, this is going to be cool. I'm going to go to sleep in this like amazing Egyptian setup for dream journeying. And I laid down and went to sleep with intentions of sending love to this friend who just died that night. I woke up in the night with finding myself out of my body. So I don't even remember the exit, because sometimes I'll remember the exit because you get a series of vibrations that go through your body that's very similar to sleep paralysis. So you get like this sense of your consciousness is awake, but your body's going through this like high vibration, buzzing sounds, all the sleep paralysis phenomenon. But for some reason, I don't remember that bit. So I just find myself outside of my body and slightly floating over along the floor, and with that astral looking um, temple colors everywhere. And so and the colors are like grainy, like lo-fi. And I was like, oh wow, I'm outside of my body. And immediately I said, Gary, Gary, are you here? Like my friend who died. Are you here? Are you here? And I hope you're okay. I send you on your way to have your next adventure. Lots of love, my friend. And then I noticed this like light coming through the window of my friend's window right by the bed. And so I was drawn to it. I went to it. And but I looked outside and it was a different outside than it is from her house. So from her house, it was like outside that window was just like a courtyard with just a stone courtyard. Outside this window in the astral was like a really lush garden, and it went back really, really far. It was quite narrow. And I was like, that is beautiful. I'm passing through the window to go in there. So you could pass through things. So I passed through the window and I was flying, like floating, all this green vines, beautiful, lush uh, plants. And it didn't feel like it was England. So I felt drawn towards the end of the garden, which had like this stone wall with vines and everything. And I saw that there was a door in the garden wall off to the left. And I was just pulled there. And as I was pulled there, the garden door opened, like a top bit opened. There was like the door had two parts. Like you could open the top bit, you can open the top and bottom together, like one of those
Mhm.
sort of, types of doors. So the top door opened. And on the other side, I saw this woman, this young Japanese woman, and she was so happy to see me. She was like speaking in Japanese and going and like reaching through the door like to touch me. And all of a sudden I was pulled through the door and I was with this Japanese woman and I was kissing her, but I realized I wasn't me. I was a Japanese man. And we're embracing and kissing and I'm like in his body going, "Oh my God, this is really weird right now." Like, okay, just observe. So I was just like observing and just being in it. And there was so there was so much love, like passion, but love between these two people. I could feel it so strong. And then all of a sudden, I felt I felt my friend Gary say, "These are my new parents. This is my next parents. This is who I'm coming in through." I was like blown away. And I was just filled with this blown up love like feeling. And I woke up and I was just like, that is wild. I've never experienced anything like that. And I'm not a person I never grew up with reincarnation. It's not something that I've entertained at all. But I always get these reincarnation things that come up all the time in these exceptional experiences. So that experience, which my friend clearly said, "Don't worry, I'm coming back, and these are my parents, my future parents." I've gotten reincarnation stuff in ayahuasca, in deep meditation states. So I sort of think, yeah, this life, death, rebirth cycle, like this constant recycling and these adventures that our consciousness can go on. I really woke up thinking, wow, good luck, my friend. Those are really nice parents. There's so much love there. So I don't, you know what I mean? So that was one of my most, one of the, there's several of them, but really profound out of body experiences that left me waking up going, wow. And it's just like a knowing it, it's hard to explain these sort of things, but you're really present as we are right now. And it doesn't feel like it's just your imagination just doing things. It's like you're just everything's coming to you in a really like precise way, in a really real way. So yeah, that was a really exceptional one.
Wow, this is such an amazing story. Oh my God. And it's so interesting because you kind of became his father for a moment, right? You became the consciousness of his
Yeah.
father. And it's just so cool how in these other realms we can communicate. And wow, this is so inspiring and so amazing. And so after all these experiences of that told you really that, hey, don't worry, after death there is so much more, and it's not the end or whatever. I guess with these experiences it's way easier for you to actually like come on board with this idea of death and then pass it to other people. So yeah, this is amazing. I'm super super grateful for you sharing your story, because it just inspires me to look more into the lucid dreaming and out of body experiences and all these realms, because there's so much more we can experience in this life than our human mind and 9 to 5 job and all these things that people are normally doing, like normally, quote unquote, because I don't think that's normal what we are doing. I think we should work a few hours a day and then go and enjoy our life, and actually work should be enjoyable too, so we don't even feel like working. But
Yeah.
that's what it is with this podcast, at least for me. It doesn't feel like work, it just feels like amazing chats with great
It's
friends.
amazing. I
So
love it.
yeah. Yeah, I freaking love doing this. So yeah, but I'm super super grateful that you agreed to share your energy and your wisdom and your experiences on this podcast, because I'm sure that some people who listen got more, let's say, easy about the topic of death in general. And so thank you so much for speaking here to us, because I got a lot out of it, and I'm sure our listeners got a lot out of it too. So thank you so much, beautiful sister, beautiful witch. And yeah, I'm super super grateful for you and your energy today.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be here. And thanks to everyone for watching too. Lots of love. Mwah.
Amazing. So if you would like to find Tree, you can find her on Instagram, right? Instagram is the way to contact you.
Yeah, that's the way.
Perfect.
Yeah. Instagram.
Yes, just find Tree Carr. I will post it, and we will have it in the description. So find her if you want to learn more about lucid dreaming or any other cool events and resources that she has. I'm sure you're gonna love it. So thank you so much, Tree, and yeah, hope to chat to you in the future again.
Me too. I hope so too. More to be continued. All right. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, beautiful souls, for listening to us. This was such an amazing conversation. Oh my God, I just love talking about other dimensions of reality and all these things that were not explored yet. So I hope that you liked it too. And if you'd like to find me, contact me. I am The Connection Catalyst on Instagram. So thank you so much for listening or watching, and stay tuned to the next episode.